Here we are again then. It's a lovely Sunday afternoon. Just thought I'd take a ball walk. You can see her there in the background. And as I was walking, I thought I'd do a reflection. Somebody asked me not so long back, you know, why are we, me and John, why are we doing these reflections? What's it all about? What's the point? And I suppose the point, in a nutshell, is that, you know, we're sharing our discipleship walk, mainly because we find it useful as we're reflecting and talking about the things that are going on in our lives, but also maybe it can help others, you know, as they're walking their discipleship walk with Jesus as well. I suppose the difficulty is, and I think I find this a lot with people I talk to, is I think we live in a world where as Christians it's very easy for us to have a lot of head knowledge, but that head knowledge not necessarily translate into your practical discipleship. And I think it's very easy for people to read their Bibles or have what they would call, I suppose, a Christian worldview. But that Christian worldview not necessarily translating into how they treat people or how they walk on a day-to-day basis with Jesus. And I suppose what these reflections are about is to demonstrate, you know, the ongoing discussion, if you like, the ongoing relationship and ongoing battle, maybe that's a bit too much of a word, too much of a harsh word. You know, that ongoing conversation that I'm having in my life and that John's having in his life as we try and take the theory that we read in the Bible or our understanding of doctrine and theology and try and bring that into the practical walk with Jesus. Good example, last weekend we had some friends visitors, some old friends. That seems to imply that they're old, but actually what I mean is we've had them a long time. You know, certainly there were friends, Elaine's my wife's friends, before myself and Elaine really even met each other. I really knew each other very well. So it's well over 30 years that we've known this couple, the county visitors, very close friends, very valued friends, people that are very special to us and people that are really important to us. But we have very different perspectives, let's put it that way, in certain things. And a lot of things were very close, a lot of things were very aligned, but there are certain things, usually, I know as always in a lot of cases, down political lines to some degree. You know, there's some areas that our worldviews are different. And one area on that, which is very current here for us, is over Brexit. And we, myself and Elaine, and this couple who came to visit us, have a very different view. I'll make no bones about the fact that I didn't vote for Brexit. I was very much against it. I still am. But it's done now, and you know, we have to make the best of it. But I think we have to be honest about it. I think we have to be honest about the effect it's having on us as a country and the effect that it's having on our relationship with Europe. But my opinions on that are very different than theirs. And there was a couple of times over the weekend where actually I got into quite heated debate about it, which upset Elaine, my wife. And we talked about it afterwards. Myself and Elaine talked it through, and then I also talked it through with John as well, earlier on in the week. You know, and it brings to this point, isn't it? Where should we be as disciples of Jesus? How should we deal with difference of opinion, difference in political opinion, difference in understanding of doctrine, or difference in interpretation of scripture, difference in tradition, or difference in the way that we see church, or we see God, or we see Jesus? How do we deal with that? And I think it's an important element for us, I think, as disciples, important element for us as Christians. because as you know, the conclusion we came to after last weekend, where I got into some heated debate on the Saturday night, certainly, and some pointed comments that I made, which were maybe a little unkind in some ways during the weekend. How do we deal with that? How do we stop that from breaking relationship? How do we stop that from ruining or getting in the way of good friendships? And we talked about this last time, myself and Elaine and me and John talked about this, and I think the conclusion that we came to as disciples of Jesus is that, at some point, actually, the friendship and the relationship has to take priority over being right. And that in reality, sometimes there is a point where you should hold your tongue, where you should maybe hold your opinion to yourself, and surrender to the situation, actually, because the relationship and the friendship and, the situation is actually more important than being right, or being seen to be right, or being seen to actually get your argument across, or maybe point scoring, which might hurt others because their opinions or their position is very different. Now, and I think we see that in Jesus. I think Jesus would never hold back to ask questions, to challenge people. Certainly people that he felt needed to be challenged. But I don't think he would ever get to that point, or at least that's not my reading of scripture anyway, where he allowed that to get in the way of a relationship, where actually being right was more important than the relationships that he had. And I think that's my reflection today. That's the reflection I've been thinking about this week, the thing I've been reflecting on all week, is how do you get that balance? How do you get that balance through actually, in a very cool and level-headed sort of way, ask poignant questions to make people think, but not actually get to a point where your anger or your determination to actually be right or to dominate a discussion actually gets in the way of the relationship. I suppose me as a person, I'm not one for shying off a good argument, and I suppose that's down to me being an engineer to some degree. Actually, I really enjoy a good discussion. I enjoy a good argument, but maybe I need to be a bit more aware that other people don't take a similar view, and that other people maybe get offended by you actually having a robust pushback against their beliefs or against their position. So that's my thought this week about how can I do that, and I think I'm reflecting now on I'm maybe thinking about deliberately non-arguing, deliberately getting to a point where I don't argue with somebody, where maybe I ask in a very cool way, I ask poignant questions, ask questions that maybe will let them think in the same way Jesus would do, rather than getting into a heated argument or getting into a disagreement that might actually end up with ruining a relationship. That's where I'm growing, I suppose. That's the areas where I need to be better, and I know I can be better, and I do need to be better. So there we are. That's what I'm thinking about this week. That's my reflection. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I'd value your opinion about how we deal with that dilemma, how we deal with that dilemma of getting that balance between relationship and getting your opinion across and winning an argument. Bless you. There we are. Please comment. Your comments are welcome. It'd be lovely to hear from you. I'd love to get into a conversation about these things. And I hope you found it useful. Bless you. See you next time.